It's not as black and white as you would suggest, I would say, that you can either protect them from all stresses, or by admitting that you do allow them to have some stresses and you help them overcome that and build a resilience, that you therefore somehow are on a magical point where the next point is that you will allow them to get married and you can't say that there'd be a problem with marriage purely because it's stressful. And I think there's a point there where we just lose each other. But it's been a really good conversation. It's been really good. It's been really.
We learned now today, Islam, marriage is only considered and accepted with 3 conditions: parents' consent, the girl's consent, and 2 witnesses.
Is there a minimum age now in generally practice? Because of course there might be various.
Depends on puberty.
Yeah, and how's that defined? Like physical puberty?
Yes.
Okay, so not a consideration. So, for instance, a child
let's
wouldn't go for psychological assessment.
Okay, if she's mentally sick, then no.
So how? Yeah, is it the case then that
she
they
can't
always
take responsibility?
Yeah.
She's mentally sick, then.
So let's run an example. That'd be useful. If we have a young lady, let's keep it generic. I would say child, young, a female.
Yeah. And remember again,
these 3 rules have to be applied.
Let's say not all the girls. Let's say, and again to remind you here before I say.
Yeah.
Not all 9 years old girls act the same. The same, yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
They don't act the same. All of them, they don't.
Sadly, lots of adults.
Yeah, they have different mentalities.
So do adults.
Or even adults.
Yeah.
So now, when it comes to marriage, it's not just about physical. It's about also mentality.
Okay.
So a 9-year-old can be smarter than another 9-year-old. A 10-year-old can be smarter than a 20-year-old. So it's about mentality.
On those points, we don't.
Now, example.
I'm not in disagreement with you.
Yeah, and now example. Now, a 20-year-old can be back in the days, in Islam, a 20-year-old, a 16-year-old, 17-year-old could lead people. Back in the days, can a 16-year-old lead now?
Well, there may be some examples. I would say it's probably not that common.
I think it's rare.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
I would
believe
rare.
now 18, 16, some of them.
Could I ask for clarity? Because I do need to get off at some point.
Yeah.
There are 3 rules that are applied, you're saying?
Yes.
One is the consent of the parents. Where they're alive, or guardians.
If the parents are not alive,
the guardian.
Let's say the father is not alive, the father's brother.
Yeah. So an adult must be involved in this process.
Family.
Yeah, fully allowed.
Family relatives.
From
the dad's side.
Consent of the child, which I'll come back to, because that's obviously my main concern here.
That's the main concern.
And what was the third one?
There are 2 witnesses.
And there are 2 witnesses. Are they both men, or can they be women?
They can be women, but
2
women.
women. Good.
In Islam, and when it comes to witnesses, that's different cases.
So 2 witnesses. We need not dwell on that, but 2 witnesses to make sure this contract is official.
Yes.
So I think the concern I would have is speaking to their parents.
Yes.
Now, notwithstanding my slight joke about adults, some not behaving particularly mature, and I've seen lots of that here this evening in various forms. Let's put that aside and say the adults are on board with this process.
Yes.
Does a proper assessment of the child take place over and above you and me having a chat about how mature she appears to present?
Yes.
Because I tell you what, I see children today, and they act very grown up. But if you dig a bit,
not all of them.
It's a facade. Scratch on the surface, there's still children behind them. They are behaving in mirroring behaviours based on the internet. And I did it when I was a child. When I was about 15, 12, I acted like I was a full-on bloke. I wasn't really. If you said boo to me, I was a child, and I would ask for my mum. And I'm suggesting that if there's not a proper assessment of the genuine psychological capability of this child, I would still have major concerns, and do have major concerns, that consent for the child could not be met. And therefore your 3 requirements are, one of them is at very best at risk of being not met. And that would concern me. Whereas I'd have less concern the older they get. Do you understand?
I'm saying again, as I said, repeat it again. It's not the same mentality Now, let's say now, back in the days, people used to look massive physically compared to us.
Yep, yep.
Do you agree with me?
Well, over
But
time,
now,
things change.
now over time, mankind are getting smaller
Not
and
across
smaller.
the whole world. I
No,
mean,
we are getting smaller now.
I'll tell you
No,
what.
physically we're getting smaller.
If you go to Wales,
compared to
give you,
other back in
I'll
the
give you a
days.
good example. If you go to Wales,
Yeah.
and I used to do a lot of walking in Wales, and you see the tin mines. They have huts and houses that people built around these mining centres,
Yeah.
and they have doors, and those doors were much smaller. Now, on average, so I'm sure you're right, but not entirely right across the whole of the globe.
Yes.
Now, doors in those areas are bigger, and the reason is there was less food. People did more manual work, so more of the food they consumed was expelled in energy, and less went into growth. Okay, as over time we became more wealthy, involved in less physically arduous jobs, more of the energy we take in, and our capacity to purchase and consume more, there's more there for growth, and therefore we are on average bigger and not smaller.
So now you know where I was coming from. Yes.
Well,
I know you're coming from.
Certainly, people
Now,
look different over time.
I understand, but you know what I would say, according to the UK law, I would say, let's say now, girls cannot get married until the age of 18. Yes, they say because we are protecting the children. Yes, that's what they claimed. But at the same time, they allow children who are below the age of 18 to buy to have a boyfriend, to change their genders. Are you protecting them by doing that?
Yeah, no, I certainly would say
double
that.
standard.
Oh, I agree with that, and we've gone to this point.
Yes.
I
And
mean,
also
that is
about
a real issue, isn't it?
Yeah,
That is
also about
there's
the
something
marriage.
fundamentally
Yes.
incompatible about
Yes,
those two.
yes,
I mean,
yes,
you know, I
yes.
would agree with that. I mean, others
Imagine
would be
they
upset
can't
by
drink.
me saying
They
that,
can't
but I
drink.
agree with that. Yeah.
They can't drink. They can't smoke until the age of 18.
Yeah. And I
but they can change
yeah.
their genders and they can have boyfriend
And if you
so
go
on.
around any
and do
culture,
whatever they want.
if you go around any society, probably at any time, you're going to find these entirely ridiculous kind of rules, which when looked at individually, there's a rule and someone came to this decision.
Yes.
But when stacked up next to other rules, there are these absurdities that come up. And I agree with you on that. I do. Listen, I'm going to go. It was an absolute pleasure. Your name?
What's your name? Siraj.
Siraj. It was lovely. And my name's Philip.
Philip.
Okay, yeah, it was
nice
a pleasure
to see you
talking
another
to
time, yeah?
you.
Nice. Another time. You can speak.
No, it's been
another
really...
time. Another time. No, he wants to ask you.
Yeah.
Yeah, finish with him, yeah? Yeah. No, about your experience here.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Okay, anyways. And where's everyone in? No, it was a nice discussion anyways. And I was just explaining to him about the marriage of Aisha and the Prophet Muhammad. And he agreed with me some points. And I explained to him again, he said, I'm with you. But he's just a bit concerned about the stress that would cause to the girl if she's married and before the age of 18 or and so on, whatever. And I told him, if you are to talk about protecting the girl and children and the girls specifically, and boys also, whatever, and I said, would you allow your child to change her gender or his gender? He said no. I said, would that affect your children? Would that cause stress to them and depression? He said yes. And he said, I wouldn't allow my children to suffer from stress and depression, but at the same time he would stop them from changing their genders and do whatever they want to, which he's against with. So, and I said, if you're against that one and you still believe that you need to give happiness and protect the children from depression and anxiety and stress, and why can you not accept my point, which is Aisha never had stress. If that would affect her physically, mentally, or emotionally, then Aisha would talk about this situation. And she would say, I've been forced by my parents and the Prophet, but she never said that. Christians or non-Muslims always say that affected Aisha physically and mentally, but the evidence is that did not affect her and physically, mentally, and emotionally. Otherwise, Aisha would not become one of the most knowledgeable companions. And she never even said that She never even said that I've been forced, and she never criticized her marriage with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her. So now, different culture, different societies, we cannot compare. Back in the days, people did that. Back in the days, Isaac did that. Jewish scholars agree with us. Genesis chapter 22 and chapter 23, Rebecca, and she was 3-year-old, she was a 3-year-old, she was 3-year-old, Isaac was 40. If you deny about that, again, the book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse, I think, 45, or 25, I think. Let me check. I think, I'm not on the internet. I think it's chapter 24, verse 40. Rebecca was 10 and Isaac was 40. So still 3 and 10, still Rebecca is a child. And Mary was a 12-year-old according to Catholic. Remember, Christians all have different books, different verses, different Bibles, different versions of the Bible. And also, according to Encyclopedia chapter and Joseph, page 505, Mary was 12 and and Joseph was 90 or 99. So now, back in the days, it was normal. And Paul also approved girls to get married from the age of flower, which is from age 6 to age 14. And 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 36. And there is no single verse that which prohibits and says that marrying girls from young age, before the age of 18, before 20, is a sin. I challenge any Christian to show me where it says that. If you are to use logic, what logic gives you? God came from female private part, and because of that he became unclean. The book of Job chapter 25 verse 4, it says any man who born from a woman is unclean. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I just finished.
Okay.
I'm going, guys. Which one is yours? The guy was